Hey, I am Buff, and I am still the stuff. And I'm here to tell you I'm going to be picking it out with my good friend Andrew Pope. Picking it out with Andrew Pope and Buff Bagwell. Check it out.
Well, it's another podcast. Just called Picking It Out. It's another podcast, y'all. Gonna be picking it out. Yeah, we got Marcus Buff Bagwell in the house. Yeah, and we're gonna be picking it out.
Dude, I love that. That's cool as shit.
Everybody has liked that.
Oh, dude, I think it's incredible. It's different.
Yeah, I was telling somebody, man, one time, like, everybody's got these theme songs for all their podcasts and stuff. I kind of just like doing that, and people
I think that's so cool.
People seem to like it. Anyway.
Oh, I think that's really cool. And it's original, and it's cool, and it's different.
That's right.
So anytime you can find something cool, original, and different in any business, you're doing something good.
I agree completely. Well, appreciate y'all tuning in once again to Picking It Out. My name's Andrew Pope. We got a legend in the old wrestling business with us here today. Man, he's been a key member, really, of the NWO. That's where I kind of really got to thinking this guy was so cool when I was like a teenager. Not to make him feel old or nothing.
No, you're good. Hey, you gotta be old. You gotta feel old to be old. I don't feel old yet. At least I don't feel old yet.
There you go, man. You've been through so much shit. I don't see it. That's amazing.
Know, dude.
It's amazing.
It is. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, the big man should took me a long time ago, and he's keeping me around for something. So I'm trying to hang in there to find out what he wants me to do. But he's got other plans, bro.
Yeah.
He's got some different plans that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, maybe that's a good thing, man.
I think it's a great thing.
So we got old Buff Daddy, Buff Bagwell here with us. How you doing, brother? Doing good.
Yeah, I've been doing great. We had a busy day yesterday. We went to Trustville, Alabama yesterday.
Oh yeah,
we had a signing there. And it was real good. It was sold out, a real big thing, but it wasn't necessarily a wrestling deal. It was more of a sports card thing, but still we did really, really good there. I mean, I was the only wrestler there. Cool. And the guy just was a huge Buff Bagwell fan, and I was glad to have done it because the other guy I had to do was going to interfere with another booking of mine that I didn't want the guy to feel that way about. It was one of those things where I was going to be coming in a week before, and it was going to hurt his booking the week after. And so I didn't want to do that. So it was either sit at home, make nothing, or go make a couple $1,000 somewhere and sign some autographs and meet some fans. So that's what we did. We had a good time, and we had a good blast, and 2-hour drive, and not bad. And so we had a good time.
Awesome. We played old Trustville a few times down there.
Have you?
Yeah, none of the bars are probably even there anymore that we did. Yeah, there's good. Alabama's like a big wrestling community, really.
Oh, dude, Alabama is huge. I mean, wrestling wise, I mean, it always has been. I mean, we got to be, we finally, as Nitro, WCW, we got to be, at the Birmingham Civic Center. And that was like, off the chart. It was like, oh my God, we finally made it to the Birmingham Civic Center. It was kind of like making it to the Georgia Dome or Phillips Arena or something like that. But we were always doing those little small towns, little small venues in Birmingham. But we finally got to go to the big one. And when we started doing that, we just started killing it.
Yeah.
And Birmingham's a huge wrestling. Alabama, period, is a huge wrestling state.
Oh yeah.
I get most of my bookings come from Alabama. A lot of my bookings come from Alabama. So
wow.
It makes it really good.
Well, I'm so glad, man, that you're doing really good right now. And like I told you on the phone, I'm a huge supporter in anybody that can overcome something that takes control of their life in any way.
Dude,
and,
I can't. I mean, bro, it was. If we had time to talk, the whole story. But the long story short is just, just a long story short is just, doctors don't tell you, hey, here you go, here's your medicine, and here's what can happen. They don't say that. They say, hey, here's your medicine, and you broke your neck, you're hurt, and you need this medicine. And next thing you know, 3 goes to 6, 6 goes to 9, 9 goes to 12, and 12 goes to 15, and 15 goes to 18. And then it's just like, what am I even doing? What is it even for? And I got a hold of that on my own. But then I just had just a little bit still. I was just down a little bit, and things weren't going right. So I contacted the WWE, which they have I can't say their names because I get in trouble when I do. Every time I do, I get in trouble.
Yeah.
But I mean, just countless friends of mine that have done the WWE, where they go in and go to rehab, and WWE pays for it.
Right.
I've gotten 10,000, without exaggeration, 1,000 letters to go to rehab from the WWE. And at the time I didn't need it, didn't want it, didn't need it. It wasn't one of those things where I didn't think I needed it. I really didn't need it. I was fine.
Yeah.
And then over the past little while, I gotten loose again and gotten down with this car wreck with my knee and kind of gotten depressed. And so I contacted them, and they turned me down, bro. I was like, and Dallas Page was so mad. He was so furious because, do you realize I am the only wrestler in the history of time? And that's not a good sentence to start off with, period. But I'm the only wrestler in the history of time to be turned down to the WWE to go to rehab when you contacted them. The only wrestler ever. At first, their story to Dallas was because I tried to sue them. Well, then Dallas found out that almost 80% of the guys that went to rehab had tried to sue them also.
Oh.
And so Dallas was like, wait a minute. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Well, at the same time, so I said, screw it. I said, you know what? I'm a big boy. I said, I'm gonna fix myself, So I started a podcast called Rebuilding Buff. And then when I started that, Dallas came up with a show he was shooting called Change or Die. And it just fit right into what I was doing. I wouldn't say my situation was change or die, but it was in the realm of that. It was in the realm of, look, change, or eventually you're going to die. Eventually you're going to, it's going to not be good. So I jumped on board to that. and it just went great. And everybody was real big supporters, and just really, I found out really who my true fans really were, and they just really just backed me up and really just was behind me all the way with it. And every time I went to any show, it was, people talking about, thanking me and just proud of me, and they're praying for me. And I was just like, what the heck is going on? And I didn't think it was that big a deal. But then I saw what a big deal it was to the fans. And then that's when I cared, because I do care about the fans tremendously. I am a really, really big people person. And I'm a big fan person, because without the fans, there is no Buff Bagwell. There is no Stone Cold. There is no Rock. Yeah. There just isn't without the fans. There's not. And so I'm a big fan, believer. And so I bet you, I know for a fact, I've never turned down an autograph in my entire life. I've never said no to anybody in the world that's asked me for an autograph in my entire life. And Dallas is the same way. And that's why me and Dallas always hit it off, because we both had that same kind of mentality of, really caring about the fans because they cared about us. Yeah. And so that really hit us off, and he always has been on my side. And when Dallas was nobody, and everybody was against him on, making it in the business, and he was just too old. And here I was, rookie of the year, and we just always clicked. And so he always stood up for me, always took up for me. And we just always took up for each other, and we always became great friends. And so we did this deal together, and we've got this thing going now. It's called Change Your Diet, like I said, and we're almost done taping it. But we're going to have a second season, hopefully, and looks like we are. And so everything seems to be doing really well.
That's awesome. I've got to know Dallas a little bit over the past few years. I actually got to come to the Performance Center and do like a little one-on-one session with him. He has it on video.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm like fat, overweight, out of shape. So I would love to see it just for my own entertainment, because they come in there and like try to give you a little interview. Like, so how do you feel? Like right after it's over, just come in there with the camera. And I know I could even barely talk, man. Right.
But
man, he's like a rare type of human, I feel like, man, because
dude, he's a different breed, bro. He's a different breed. I mean, he is legitimately 100%, just like his book is titled. He is just positively unstoppable. Yeah. And that is, if I could be justified as either one of those words, not both, I would be thrilled to death. But he is positively unstoppable, and that's how he really takes life, and that's how he really is. If it's something that's negative, it is instantly cast away. Yeah. It is not talked about, and it's just not in the subject. And so that's a big deal to me. And Dallas always was like that, and I just always loved him for being like that. And so many guys are against that kind of thing, he kind of, he was like one, like a chameleon kind of. He was one, he could just adapt and overcome, and he did. And like I said, I told him one day at his house, in his $1 million mansion he lives in, which is gorgeous. Yeah. He says, he goes, I said, do you realize that you made it in something twice that everybody in the world thought you were crazy to do? And I could tell by his answer he didn't. He went like, no, I didn't. I hadn't really thought about that. I said, dude, I watched Lex sitting right beside him make fun of you in kind of a ha-ha way. He wasn't like we were all friends.
Yeah.
But still, Dallas would come out with his mat by the ring and do his yoga stuff. And Legs is like, what are you doing? Are you kidding me? And so it was kind of funny and everybody kind of laughed about it, but really it was kind of ha-ha, but not really ha-ha, and Dallas just, again, overcame it to become a multi-million over it. And same with wrestling, he was, too old and, he wasn't going to make it in wrestling. And next thing you know, he's, believe it or not, he was up for Rookie of the Year the same year I won it. He was against me for Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
As he's 13, 14 years older than me. So here's a guy 13 or 14 years older than me that's up for Rookie of the Year against me. And it was him, me, and Eric Watts. And that's the three main people that were up for the Rookie of the Year. And then I was like, God, please let me win this. Don't let, if it's, I love Dallas to death, but if the older guy beats me, then that will put me at,
Yeah.
I gotta win this thing, man, So thank God I did win the Rookie of the Year. And that was, that kind of took off my career,
Yeah.
But Dallas is a special people, man. He's special.
Oh yeah. 100%. What he's done for Jake and Scott Hall. He gave Scott Hall, I texted him whenever, Scott passed. I said, dude, I'm sorry to hear about his passing, but thank you for giving him the last few years, probably the best of his life.
And to be honest with you, me and Dallas added it up. It's about 10. He gives Scott Hall 10 extra years of his life.
Absolutely.
And he gave Jake 8 years now of sobriety. So that is, so a guy that was, so screwed up. And I remember when a guy that's screwed up sees another guy that's screwed up and goes, oh my God, that guy's screwed up.
Yeah.
That other guy is really screwed up. And because you're already speaking from that point, from that point.
Right.
And like he walked up to me one time and he had Coke all over his face, just all over his face. And TNA was at this show, and I'm thinking, oh my God, stay away from Jake because it's going to be you're going to get the heat for this. You're going to get the heat for all of this somehow or another. It'll be your fault. And so he walked up to me and goes, hey, Bagwell. He had 2 things of vodka with him, 2 handles, those handles, the big vodka things. And he goes, with Coke all over his face, and he goes, Bagwell. He goes, am I good? Am I good? It was all over him. And I looked at him and I went, you're good. You're good. And we just busted out laughing and everything, But he was just a mess. And God, just such a great guy, dude. Jake the Snake Roberts is one of the coolest dudes on the face of this planet. So for Dallas to save his life and to really turn him around and for their bonding to go take place the way it has, and Scott getting 10 extra years of his life, because he would have been gone. He'd have been gone, bro. Yeah. If Dallas wouldn't have stepped in. And to give Scott 10 extra years, I think that was just phenomenal. And this shows you what kind of guy Dallas is. He's a special guy, man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm real excited about seeing this show.
Yeah.
I don't know if you give any details on if it's how it's going to come out, or on the app, or like on a.
With editing, you just don't know what. I can talk about it, but it's not like I can't talk about it because they want us to talk. They want us to talk about it. It's just editing wise. I don't know. I may say something, and that may not even make the film.
Yeah.
But like within the first week, me and Butterbean almost get the fist fight, and then they're showing an American Male video, and I didn't ask to put the American Male video in.
Yeah.
I didn't say, "Hey, put that American Male video in." And it happens to be a really cool video. It's one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. It was just one of those videos that turned out really good and was really, really done well. And it was done right. And they had it on, and the girls were looking at it, and the guys were, the camera crew, and they're all like, "Oh man, that's so cool! That's kick ass! That's cool!" And Butterbean goes, "You look gay to me in it." And I said, "What'd you say, fat ass?" And he goes, so he didn't say nothing back. I thought, wow. I thought he was supposed to be kind of a badass, you know? And a few minutes later, he calls Steve over, Steve Yu, which is our production guy, and our head producer. And he calls him over and he goes, "Hey, if he's 5 feet away from me. And he goes, if Bagwell calls me a fat ass one more time, I'm going to get up and beat his brains out." And I said, "What'd you say, fat ass?" And so then he starts to get up. Keep in mind, he's in bad shape too. He's got a hip and he's replaced and he's beat up, and we're all working together with all of our problems. And he's coming, he starts to come at me, and one guy gets in front of him, about $150. And he goes, I go, "Wow. A guy 150 pounds stops Butterbean." You know me, I can't let it go. I'm stirring the pot, of course. And then he goes, so here he come again. And he didn't know it. But, when you're any form of a badass of any sort, when you've knocked somebody out or you've done anything that's, accountable of being a tough guy, I'd already mapped out how I was going to swing my crutch. Was it going to clear the couch? And how I was going to hit him. I mean, I'd already had, like Terminator, like I'd planned it. And so I was ready for it, Now, don't get me wrong. If he got past the crutch, I was going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But you don't think about that kind of stuff then.
Yeah.
But so that was in the very first week. Then we ended up fist pumping, and hey, we're cool. We were cool the rest of the time. Butterbean's a great guy. And then me and the girls had a couple run-ins over. They're there for diet. They're there for, trying to go over their diet and stuff. And I was upset with them complaining about all the meals. I was eating everything. Wasn't even there to lose weight, and lost 40 pounds in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I went from 270 to 230 in 3 weeks. So, and it was healthy and felt great and looked great. It was healthy looking and felt healthy and felt great and doing the program and all of that. But I mean, they just, I don't know, they just had always something to say negative. Yeah. And I was just like, guys, this ain't going to be easy. I mean, you didn't put that weight on overnight.
Right.
So it's not like it's going to be something that you're going to take off overnight,
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't say that. I just let it go. And then I did a podcast a few weeks ago that I kind of just put everybody on full blast, and like I do. And it pissed them off a little bit. But at the same time, I hadn't said anything that wasn't true. Yeah. So it was more like, are you really backstabbing us? Or are you being for real with us? And I am being for real. I'm never fake for anybody. I'm always straight up. And so Dallas knows that, and Dallas saw that. And so I really worked hard to get along with everybody. But it's just boils down to, it's just really hard to get along with somebody and live with them. And if you can do that, and that's the idea they were wanting to do, is to not just like change your life, change your mind, change what it takes to get up and help somebody with some dishes, change your thought pattern on how you feel about people that you don't really know, and So it was more like change like that or die. And I mean, there's a couple cases that were change or die.
Yeah.
Like we had a kid in there that was 22 years old. It was 520 pounds, and and didn't know how to tie his shoes. And so, I mean, that's a horrible, and is the nicest, coolest guy on the planet. But just the wrong upbringing, the wrong family, and they did him wrong, and kind of put food in front of his face to keep him out of their way.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was really, really cool, and he listened to all of our comments, and just became a really great guy, and to the point where, Dallas is giving him a job. I mean, he's going to be working for Dallas, and he's really good on computers. He's very good on computers. So Dallas is going to bring him in on, he's going to be part of the, DDPY, editing team.
Right.
So that's just the kind of guy, again, that's the kind of guy Dallas is. If you show him the hard work, he'll give you something in return,
Oh yeah, for sure. He's one of the most positive people I've ever been around or got to know.
It's unbelievable. It really is. It's unbelievable how positive he is.
Yeah.
He's a great, great guy, dude. He really is.
I hope the show, whenever it is edited and it comes out, I hope it's a huge hit for everybody. It sounds like it's going to be, man. And, couldn't be happier for you. And, I know that I think Missy Hyatt was like one of the first people to kind of give you or get you into the wrestling business. Am I right about that?
You're dead right. Not one of. She was the only one. She was the it. She was Missy Hyatt. Believe it or not, I had got into being a massage therapist. My parents were in the lumber business, and we were filthy. I mean, like $1 million a month rich.
Oh, wow.
Business. I mean, that's a lot of money. And
that was in Atlanta or outside of Atlanta?
That was in Atlanta in the 70s and 80s. And my mom was running the company. Here's a female running a lumber company with 200 plus men employees, and how many truck drivers are women? None.
Yeah.
So all men industry. And here's a woman running the lumber company. And my dad was the brains behind it because he knew how much lumber to buy. And that's the secret on whether you become victorious or not. Mm-hmm. But she was there, doing the slave driving, the making it work, making it go, making it tick.
Yeah.
And she was just a great boss. And, but my mom was a great, great woman during her life. And she was just very strong. And all the boys got to know her because of wrestling, and they all loved her to death and everything. But so when Dad started going broke, it was my senior year. It was 1988. And we were like, I was like, God, he's like, look, guys, I got enough money to get you guys into something, what do you want to do? What the hell do you want to do at 18? How do you know? I'm 18 years old,
Yeah.
So I'm like, so he goes to Steve, my brother Steve, and he wants a gym. So he opens up a gym because we were workout guys and all that. Mm-hmm. And my brothers and my father we were all big workout people. And so my dad gave him the money for opening a gym up, and he called it Muscle Connection. It was a real cool gym, real great gym. And my middle brother, he wanted to do drywall. And my dad bought him a big boom truck and got everything all set up and everything. Well, I was the baby, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do, Dad. I said, shit, man, I'm 18 years old. I don't really know what I want to do.
Yeah.
He said, well, then I thought. And finally, I came up with massage therapy. Because I thought, well, this was my thinking. My thinking was two things. I was a huge sports freak. I mean, I was all county, all state, football and baseball, all 4 years of my career at Spraberry. I was all county, all state, all 4 years. And so, but my grade point average was horrible because I didn't care about grades because I knew where I was going to work. I was going to work for my family.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really care about grades. And so I said, you know what? I can get into massage therapy. I said, I can do like sports therapy, sports therapy, get in maybe a sports trainer of a football or baseball team or something, and continue loving sports through being a trainer or something,
Yeah.
That was a little bit of the thought pattern. And also the thought pattern of, here's a Southern, well-mannered, extremely well-mannered kid that was in shape, could help women and men with their diets. And I just thought it was just a complete no-brainer. And it was an absolute disaster. I graduated number one in my class. Number one in my massage therapy class. Now that means how good you are with your technique. That means how good you are. Keep in mind, it's hard to have a woman walk in your room and you explain how she's going to get her clothes off and get in this bed, and you're going to step out for a few minutes and come back in. That's a pretty tough transition. Well, I was very good at that because I was just a very honest, open guy. And so I was very good at all that. So that's why I graduated number one in my class, I think, because I was just very good at making people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But bro, when I got out there into the world of massage therapy, it was women would walk in and they would see me and they would instantly go and just turn around and walk out. And I go, wait a minute, where are you going? Where are you going? And they go like, there is no way I'm letting you massage me. And I'm like, well, tell me. We keep in mind, it costs $10,000 to get this done. It's not cheap to become a massage therapist. It costs $10,000. And I was like, look, tell me, what's the deal? What's wrong? And I heard from my husband would kill me to I may have some fat on my back. So basically it was insecurity stuff that the women. So basically because of my looks that I thought would go for me and help me through the transition of, and keep in mind, outside of that room, you still have women go, oh my God, if you'd have been my massage therapist, I'd have been all over it. That's what they say. But when it comes down to the point of you doing that and getting in that room with your clothes off, it does become a little bit iffy. And so it just kind of backfired on me, even though I was making I was making good money at it, but I wasn't making a career out of it.
Right.
During that time, the point of me telling that story, I'm at the pool one day trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my life. And I see this blonde hair, big boob, beautiful chick across the pool. And we lived in the number one apartments. It was called Poplar Place Apartments. And they were like the number one in Kennesaw. They were like the coolest apartments in Kennesaw. And so we lived there, and we're driving a Corvette and a Jeep, and we're rolling, and we're doing well and everything. But really, we're not doing well in what we're wanting to do well in. We're just doing well with money and life.
Yeah.
And so she was like, "Won't you be?" So that night, anyway, I can't hear them across the pool. I can just see them and they're kind of eyeballing me and stuff. Well, I come back from the pool that day And Missy is moving in directly across the hall from me. I mean, directly. I remember, don't ask me how. I've got all the wrestlers will tell you I got a freaky memory. Our room, our apartment was 1504 and hers was 1505. I've got no idea how I remember that. But bro, that is 100% the facts. So I come back, here she is moving in, and me just being young and naive, I'm thinking, that's weird that she's moving in right next door to me. That's kind of strange. Well, little did I know, it was all a big plan. She had went to the person that was showing her around, the agent, and said, move me in wherever that guy lives. And the agent didn't know I was married. And so she moves in next door to me, right across the hall. And I come back like, hey, what's going on? Thinking, that's kind of weird, And that night, knock on the door is Missy Hyatt. And I don't know Missy Hyatt from TV. I don't know Missy Hyatt from wrestling. I've got no earthly idea who she is. And except she was a blonde and she was good looking. And but I had a blonde wife that was good looking too, so it didn't really matter. And so but so she walks in and she goes, she's a starter. Missy is super cool, super honest, super truthful, super chick. Missy is. And she said, hey, she goes, I got to tell this story. She goes, today I saw your husband at the pool. She said, and I told the agent, I said, move me in next door to wherever that guy out there lives. So she did. And then once she found out the story, she came in and she told us through. She goes, but putting all joking aside, she goes, you're crazy not to get into pro wrestling. You just got the look, you got the voice, I can tell you got the charisma, you got the swag. You should definitely look into doing that, And so I said, oh God, Missy. I said, those guys don't make no money. And she goes, our lowest paid guy makes $100,000 a year. So I was like, so let's talk about that a little more. What now? Tell me that again now.
Yeah.
So I didn't know they made that kind of money, I just didn't know it. And so I go get trained, and it was very hard. It was really hard. It took me about a year to make it. And a year is really not that long in this business to make it, because it's very hard to make it in this business. But it's a year of every single day you're going to be a pro wrestler. It is a long time. And that's how I had it. My wife supported us and allowed me to go after my dreams, and make it through, make it to wrestling. And, of course, when I made it, she was like, I knew you had it in you. I knew you had it in you. I go, that ain't what you said. You dog me the whole time. So, but long story short, I made it, and everything we did paid off, and it worked out great and turned out great. And 33 years later, I'm still doing it. So it just it turned out to be a great career and a great move, and it worked out great. But without Missy's knowledge of telling me everything she taught me, I never, ever would have made it. I would have walked out and quit several times, because I would not have put up with what I knew, what she told me I was going to have to put up with.
Yeah.
I never would have done it, or would have had the patience for it. But when she told me what was coming,
mm-hmm.
then it was kind of like a joke, because these guys don't realize they call heat. They call heat in Marietta what we call jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd already been through that. My parents were rich. We were good looking. We were rich. And we were super athletes. That's heat.
Yeah.
And I'm driving a red Corvette, playing Little Red Corvette by Prince in the car.
Yeah.
That's heat.
Yeah.
So I already knew what heat was.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we called it jealousy. And so I was somewhat prepared for the business in that aspect. And so I was kind of ready for it. But Missy was really a huge part of me making it and sticking with it.
So who trained you for that year?
Steve the Brawler Lawler. He passed away this past year. His name was Daryl Gower. But he looked like one of the Lawler. It looked like Jerry Lawler a little bit. So I think he rode the coattails on that a little bit and called himself Steve the Brawler Lawler was his name. And he was a legit badass. But that's who trained me. That's actually who trained me to become a wrestler.
So you didn't really grow up watching it.
No, there's two different kind of wrestlers. There's the kind of wrestlers that dressed up Halloween like their favorite wrestler. There was the kind of wrestlers that, would go around and wrestle for free and just be weekend warrior wrestlers. I was there to make money.
Mm-hmm.
I got in this business to make money. And believe me, there's several different those guys. Like Lex was the kind of guy that didn't get in this business because he loved pro wrestling. He got into it to make money. Sting didn't get in this business because he loved pro wrestling. He got in to make money. And there's no difference or no bad with the good. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And these guys, there's just different kinds. Now, the ones that are the dress up at Halloween and follow around, different, groups and wrestle for free and stuff like that. There is a little bit of an attitude situation with it where they think that we're too good and, well, we're only in it because our bodies look good. We don't know how to wrestle, which is just a bunch of bull crap. It's just egos and just everybody just being politics and egos. So just because I look good don't mean I was a bad wrestler. So,
and dude, the Blockbuster.
We had a lot of fun with it though. We had a lot of fun with it, and I got into the business. And don't get me wrong, you do learn.
Yeah. To
respect the business,
sure.
Even though no matter how you get into it, because it is a business you have to learn to respect, or because it's a very, very, very respectful business because it's very hard to do. It's very hard to do and to stay on top for a long time. It's very hard. So you end up respecting it tremendously. Right.
Yeah, dude, the Blockbuster is one of my favorite of all time. I mean, that's so cool. From every camera angle. It doesn't matter. I mean, it was just so cool. It was so cool looking, and you nailed it every time. I don't know of a time when you didn't.
The way I would land and come up, it just worked. I don't know how me and Scotty Reyes came up with that.
Oh, really?
And that came from Rick Rude's Rude Awakening, the neck breaker.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it where it was like, make it a little different. So I came off the ropes with it.
Yeah.
And now you see guys at the AEW doing it, WWE doing it, and they do it for high spots.
Yeah.
But still, it's cool to see them do that. They're not about to call it the Buff Blockbuster.
Right.
But I've heard them call it the Blockbuster, and that's cool. It's just a really tough business to get over in, like the top hat, I mean, when I brought the top hat in, it got made fun of, and then now it's on action figures, So, it's just a very hard business to leave what I call a dent in. To make a dent in this business is very hard to do. And if you can do that, then you've done it. You've done a hell of a job.
Oh, you did it, man. You did it. You made a dent.
Yep, I did. I made a dent.
And to come back from the neck.
Here's some of my dents right here.
There you go. What's the one on the top right up there? The behind your head, or to the left of you?
Here,
the other side,
here?
right there. Yeah.
That was when I was the handsome stranger. Do you know that one?
In the GWF.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was handsome stranger there. That's handsome stranger there.
That's cool.
And that's when I wore the little black mask and all that. And then there's what is that one right there? Oh, that's just a picture of me there. And then there's a couple of the pictures here, but I got all my action figures on the wall too. And that was when I was in the movie Pay It Forward.
Okay.
If you look right here, you can see Helen Hunt is right beside talking to her kid. And every time she talked to her kid by the light switch, the Buff Bagwell banner pennant was right beside her.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
That's cool.
So I got 10 grand for that, dude.
Wow.
Just because my they said, hey, do you want me 10 grand? I said, yeah. And they said, well, just sign right here. I said, for what? And they told me, I go, okay. So all I do is sign this piece of paper to allow them to use my likeness.
Yeah.
And I got 10 grand to be in the movie Pay It Forward.
Shit. Can't beat that.
No.
Cannot beat that.
I said, okie dokie.
What year was it when you when you got hired in the WCW? Was it 91?
91.
And would that have been Jim Hurd?
No, I met him, but he was leaving about the same time. Okay. So that was about the change where Hurd was selling it to Turner,
mm-hmm.
and the Crockett's were all selling it to Turner. And the Crockett's, their deal with Turner was they were allowed to have a spot in the business and the company. So like Jackie Crockett was a camera guy.
Yeah.
Another Crockett was an office guy. So the whole Crockett family, out of it, they got jobs by selling it off to Ted Turner. And they were super great guys. We loved them to death. They were cool, and Jackie was cool. And I was always talking to the camera, and Jackie always would find me to talk to the camera. So he loved it, and, but those guys were great. They're great guys. We had a lot of fun with them.
So Eric came in not long after you came in, I guess, right?
No, not long at all. He was, let's see, I'll tell you exactly. We had a guy named Kip Fry that signed my first contract. And after that was, Dusty hired me. But Kip Fry did the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Dusty was the bosses that I worked on. It was Dusty, and then Kevin Sullivan. And I take it back. It was a little bit of time. I mean, it was a little bit of time because it was Dusty, Kevin Sullivan, Cowboy Bill Watts, and then Eric.
Oh yeah, after Bill Watts, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I survived 5 bosses there, and I never would have survived Cowboy Bill Watts, except me and Eric were best friends.
Yeah.
So I survived that one through pure luck of us being good friends. So, because Cowboy Bill Watts was like a man's man, and Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and those kind of badasses were who he believed in pro wrestling. And here's this pretty boy with his goatee cut just right, and that wasn't what Bill Watts was about. He wasn't about that. And he was about your tough ass, badass, wrestlers,
Yeah.
and like Terry Gordy and Bam Bam Bigelow and, One Man Gang and Dr. Death Steve Williams and, just super badasses. And, here we come in as, pretty boy prima donnas, and that just wasn't quite what Cowboy Bill Watts was looking for.
Man, what a time back then to be a fan, I mean, especially like from mid-90s when all that started, when Nitro started, man, it was unbelievable. It had, for y'all that was there and a part of that, it had to just be just unbelievable.
Oh, dude, listen to this. This is something that nobody knows. Me and Scotty Riggs, as the American males, we were the dark match of the very first Nitro.
Oh, really?
So theoretically, me and Scotty Riggs at the Mall of America in Minnesota, at the Mall of America in Minneapolis, Minnesota, me and Scotty Riggs were actually the very first match of Nitro. Now, it was dark, so Pillman and Jusha Thunder Liger were the very first match.
Yeah.
But still, it's pretty cool to know that you were at least, we knew by being dark. When you go dark, you know you're next in line to be the stars.
That makes sense.
And so we knew we were getting ready to be getting pushed, you know.
Man, it was God, it was a hell of a time. I mean, I was such a fan, you know, speaking from, I was a WWF fan of the cartoon and stuff when I was a kid.
Oh, so was I.
And then the NWO stuff, man, when that started, I got hooked all over again in a whole new way. And it brought me back, and I was like hardcore WCW every Monday night, every pay-per-view. Hell, I watched Saturday night on TBS when it was just, you know, there was no stories or anything.
605, baby.
That's right. 505 for me here in Alabama.
Yeah, 605 and 505 Central.
Oh, man, it was such a good time to just...
It was.
Eric don't get enough credit. You agree with that?
No, I totally agree with it. But, you know, he gets a lot of heat.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of heat. And Eric did nothing but just, I thought, did everything great. Eric Bischoff did everything fantastic and always did everything he said he was going to do with professionalism and being our boss. And don't get me wrong, he was a hard ass.
Yeah.
But you got to be a hard ass running a bunch of you know, egotistical maniacs. Exactly. You know, in one locker room. You know, that who's the biggest, who's the baddest, who's the toughest, who's the best looking, who's got the best abs. I mean, it was a bunch of egotistical maniacs.
Yeah.
And he's having to be the boss of all those guys. I mean, I get it, you know. But Eric, I thought, did it well and did everything great. So I love Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, and I feel like he's never changed. You know, like he back then, it was, you know, of course he was busy with talent and running the company pretty much, but he still would want to sit down and have a beer with somebody, or if he had, like, if there was some crosswords or something, man, he's going to be a man and he's going to come and confront you about it. You know, he's not just going to go hide.
He had a deal. I never saw him do this, thank God, because I wasn't never one pushing this far, but he had a deal where if he ever had words with you and it was getting ready to be blows, he'd take his tooth out and be like, you know, like to show that, in other words, he'd been there and done that kind of thing. And, you know, hey, come on, you know, but hold on, man, let me take my tooth out before we do this. And he'd take his tooth out because he had a tooth that was like not in, they had knocked out in a fight or something.
Wow.
And so, like, he did that with Davey Boy Smith. It was a definite one, was one guy, but he took his tooth out and would be like, you know, come on, bro, bring it on. You know, because Eric was a badass. Eric could fight you. He didn't care.
Yeah. I never heard that.
Yeah, that's a true story.
Wow. You know, did they come to you? Who came to you first about being a part of the NWO when it started getting hot?
Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash came to me. Me and Kevin were good friends because we both lived in Atlanta. He was the big bouncer in Atlanta. He was kind of like Patrick Swayze in Atlanta. He was kind of the cooler of all the clubs. Every new hot club that opened, he was always the bouncer. I mean, here he was, you know, 7 foot tall, 350 of muscle. and he would always be the lead, bouncer. And but his main job was at the Cheetah. He kept the Cheetah, was a titty bar there, and it's one of the nicest ones and the coolest ones. That's where his main job was. Then he'd take side jobs on all these little clubs that would open up. And I was the pretty boy, parents had money going to those clubs that he was bouncing in.
Yeah.
So we became real big friends and stuff. And then we broke into wrestling together, kind of not together, but at the same time. He was breaking in. I was just a few months behind him, and I was breaking in. So, but yeah, Eric, but Kevin's who came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to, be in the NWO?" And I went, "Are you kidding? Hell yeah, I do." And he goes, "Well, get your stuff and come with us. Come with me." So I was able to, I grabbed my bags, and I remember walking with him to the NWO locker room, and it was like a big deal. It was like, wow, I finally made it,
Yeah, it exploded. I mean,
oh, it did. It was huge
for you. I mean, it really exploded after that.
Oh yeah, it really did. It was, it really was, I had no idea really what was coming with it until I got in there. And then when me and Riggs came out that night, and the gimmick was they were, saying that if you don't, you got 30 days to join, then you got 30 days from tonight to join the NWO. If you don't join, you're going to be fired.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. Well, then all of a sudden, here come me and Riggs, and I'm telling Riggs, no, I'm joining. And Riggs is trying to talk me out of it. And when I got in that ring, man, with all that talent, seeing Nash and Hall and Bischoff and X-Pac and all that talent in the ring, I was like, oh my God, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to be. This is where I should be. And this is where, this is where I want to stay, and from that point on, man, it was just, I just brought things to it differently that I didn't think I don't know, as much charisma was in that group. Things like the hat, things like putting your name on the back of your shirt.
Yeah.
Or
your face. You had your face on one of the jackets or the vest. Or
yeah, just little things. Man, I just came up with the craziest stuff that worked. Look at this.
Yeah, that was always so cool.
My mom thought of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was like, "Why don't you put your face on top of your hat? That'd be cool." And I went, "Oh my God, it's a great idea." So of course I had my guy airbrush my hat, my face on top of my hat, and it just, I don't know, everything I did, it just worked, but then again, it wasn't what I did worked. It was just, that's what wrestling was back then. Everything that, was everything you threw out there seemed to work with pro wrestling back then, because it was just a wide open field and everybody loved it so much. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. When you got together with Scott Norton after that, and I thought the Vicious and Delicious thing was brilliant. That was brilliant.
I hate to say it, but I didn't think of it. It was a kid we were in Chicago at a restaurant, and this little kid walked up to us, and I looked around and I said, I could see somebody hovering over me, kind of, and I looked back and this little kid, he was like looking at me like this. And I said, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" And he didn't say a word. And I said it again. I go, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" And he went, "Vicious and delicious."
What?
And I went,
You gotta be shitting me.
I dropped my fork. I went, "What did you say?" He said,
man.
"Vicious." And I literally got a pen out and wrote down "vicious and delicious." And me and Norton went straight home. And as soon as we landed, we called the airbrush guy, airbrushed everything we had, vicious and delicious. And it just worked. And the only reason you didn't see a lot more of vicious and delicious was that's when I broke my neck.
Yeah.
I broke my neck in a vicious and delicious match. It was vicious and delicious versus Lex Luger and Rick Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick came off and missed me with a bulldog, and I tried to catch up to him and broke my neck. And then Scott went to Japan, and then before he came back, I had hooked up with Scott Steiner. They put me with Scott Steiner, and then me and Scott had a hell of a run, So, but that's the only reason why it was a short run with me and Norton. That would have been a really long run with that name. That was such a great name.
That was perfect.
Vicious and delicious. I mean, my God, it was great.
I can't believe that's where it came from.
A little kid.
That's amazing.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what'd you say? He said it again, and I went, oh, my God, hold on a second. I wrote it down. I was like, that's it, man. Thank you. I said, you don't realize this, but thank you.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm a songwriter, so that's like right up my alley right there. And people that watch and listen to this, that's the kind of, you got to write that down. And that's
absolutely. I wrote it down instantly, man. It's great.
Did you have one person do all the airbrushing on all your stuff?
Actually, believe it or not, there's a story behind that. I had a guy that was a huge, keep in mind, who did my airbrushing was a part of building Buff Bagwell. I mean, if you're nailing the stuff the ideas I'm coming up with, and you're doing a great job doing them on my tights, even though they're my ideas, you're nailing them on the tights and giving the people what they want, which are different, cool, funny. I put like a hot chick on one leg, and I put my name on the other one, or I put a cool car, and my name was always on one leg, and then the other leg was like a something out of Batman or something, and but he lost his. He painted a pair of. I'll never forget. He painted a pair of red tights of mine. And I went out and wrestled in them, brand new pair of tights. And I wrestled Dallas Page. And it was after WCW. We're in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And I wrestled Dallas Page. And I got to the back. And when I got to the back, my tights, all the paint was gone. And it was just a red pair of tights again. And I said, what in the hell? And like you'd almost think it would work anyway. Would you not? When Scott Norton first thought of this idea, I said, Scott, that ain't gonna. I said, I sweat so bad that ain't gonna last. Well, I was wrong. It worked. And this guy is who created it. And he'd bake the paint onto your tights, and it just. The paint would last longer than the tights would. The tights would wear out in the crotch. Wow. Before the paint would wear off. And then, so finally I came to him. I said, bro, what happened? I said, he goes, man, he said, they switched paints on me and I can't figure out what to do. Long story short, the guy that helped create and invent Buff Bagwell, he came to me and said, bro, can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out the new, what they've done, what they've taken away. They've changed the paints. So I literally had to find a new airbrush guy. And so two guys, now throughout WCW, it was one guy and his name was Michael. And it was a black guy named Michael. Then after WCW, it was a guy named Kim. It's called airbrush. Kim's airbrushing cats. Cat's airbrushing or something like that. But that's who does all my stuff now, and he does a great job. That's who done this hat. That's who did this shirt. So he does all my latest stuff. But he was not during the WCW run. It was another guy named Michael. But he just lost his swagger, his magic step, magic touch, or whatever it's called. He lost it and became, like where I had to change. I had to find somebody else. It's crazy.
Wow. I always wondered about that because, everything kind of had not a similar look, but like a similar vibe to it.
Yeah.
And so I always
like edgy. Like you see how this is like real edgy.
Yeah.
The edges, the corners are edgy.
Yep.
I always liked the way that looked with the edginess of I wanted sharp F's.
Yeah.
And sharp B's, like razory.
Yeah.
And that's where I always went with all my stuff. I went through a phase of kind of the bubble look of the bubble B and the bubble U and the bubble F.
Yeah.
But then it got to where it was, sharp and the sharp B and the sharp U and the sharp F. So I just played with it, man. I had fun with it. And it wasn't all me. Yeah. It was a lot to do with those guys too, telling me, what do you think about this? Or let's try this.
Yeah.
So we'd throw something against the wall, see if it stuck.
Right. Talking about the night you broke your neck, probably a crazy thing to ask, but is there anything that you remember? Did you just black out after that, or?
Oh no, I remember everything vividly, completely vividly. It was the finish of the match was Rick Steiner comes off with a bulldog. Boom, hits me with a bulldog. Turns me over to cover me. Scott Steiner comes out, hits Rick in the back with a chair. Rick falls off. Scott puts me on top. 1, 2, 3, and W wins. That's simple. We've done it 1,000,000 times. That's what was laid out.
Yeah.
So Rick comes off with a bulldog. We're getting ready to go home. So we call it you go home.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes off with a bulldog. But when he comes off, he misses me. You can't not hook a guy's head with a bulldog. But keep in mind, you're facing this way, and you got 280 pounds coming off the top rope behind you. So he's got to hook your head when he goes down, or you're going to blow it. You're going to mess up.
Yeah.
Well, he came off and he missed me. So live cameras are rolling. So I try to catch up to it. Try to catch up to at least they could say, well, he partially caught him, or he partially caught him with a bulldog or anything to save, us not looking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is when he missed me and he hit the mat and I went into him, my head went back real hard. And I was instantly not like Stinger, not thinking I was not thinking I was paralyzed. I was 1,000%, no doubt about it, I was paralyzed. Not like in my head, not like I dreamed it up. I was paralyzed because I've been hurt a bunch of times, and this is a feeling that I've never felt before. And not to mention, to boot, I couldn't move. Yeah. So I'm literally suffocating in the mat because I can't move because I'm paralyzed. And Rick goes to turn me over to cover me. And when he turns me and gets me right here, my mouth, I go, I'm paralyzed. When our eyes met. And Rick's like, oh my God, but what do we do? There's live cameras rolling. We had already made wrestling real again, bro. It was real again. And here we can't all of a sudden break, kayfabe and act like everybody's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm if you watch it back, you see me just, I'm talking, I'm yelling a million miles an hour, dude. I'm like, I'm hurt. Don't touch me. I'm paralyzed. You can just, from the corner to the right, it'd be like if I'm on my back, the camera that's right there, it's just right on me. And you can see me just going, I'm just going 100 miles an hour because like I'm trying to tell everybody that I'm hurt and not to touch me. And so so what happened is when I was saying all that, Rick covers me. Scott hits him with his chair. Rick just throws himself off of me. And Scotty's just going to get my arm and put my arm on top of Rick. 1, 2, 3, the bad guys win.
Yeah.
That's simple. Well, he does that, hits him with a chair. Rick falls off. My arm goes on Rick's chest, and my arm goes. Because I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
It ain't staying there. I can't control it. It's like, So I'm like, my arm just goes back. Well, now there's 2 guys laying on their backs, and the referee goes 1, 2, 3, and we're like, well, what the hell do we do now? Who won? Who did? And I keep in mind, I could care less who won. I'm paralyzed, so I'm like, oh my God, my life's over. And believe it or not, though, it was so surreal. I didn't cry. I didn't get upset. It was just real. It was a fact. It was just there was no real feeling about it, except the fact was I was paralyzed. And I mean, Scott Norton's crying, Lex is crying, Steiner's crying, and we're trying to play it off, but everybody's upset. And then here I am. I'm going like, look, man, in that 10-minute period, I've been totally paralyzed for 10 minutes. I went from being extremely depressed to Christopher Reeves was still alive. And I said, I can go to schools and I can talk to schools. And I made a negative. I already made a negative into a positive in that short 10-minute frame. And believe me, that's a short 10 minutes when you go from, being totally paralyzed to making it a positive situation out of it. And so sometime in that 10 minutes, the trainer goes, his name was Danny, and he was our trainer, and he goes, your hand's moving, Buff. And I couldn't raise my head up and look. All I could do was go. Because I was 3-4, which is about right here down. So I can move my head, but that's about it.
Yeah.
1, 2 is your breathing. So I'm at 3-4, which is just right below breathing, which means about right here. And so right here down, I was paralyzed. And so I looked, and I could see my hand starting to move a little bit. And I thought, oh my God, and all of a sudden it came up and it stopped right here. Just my arm came back, but not fully, but just it was kind of back.
Yeah.
And then this arm came back and stopped right here. And then this leg and it stopped. And then this leg and it stopped. And when it comes back from commercial break, if you watch, when it comes back from commercial break, you see me go like this. I'm laying on my back and you can see me, I'm trying to kick out. Come on, man, kick out, I'm doing that kind of look on my face. I'm kind of nodding my head and trying to get moving. And I got this, I go. Now, if I didn't tell you that, you'd never know it. But if you watch it and you see me do this, I'm feeling if I can feel my core. And I can't. I couldn't feel it. So by that stage, I'm taped down, tape over the forehead, on the board, all taped down and stuff. So there wasn't no, there wasn't no, and they don't answer you when you ask questions about your neck being broke. They don't answer you. I was like, hey, what? The guy tell me, am I paralyzed? I can move my fingers and my toes. Am I paralyzed? And they won't answer you because they don't know. They don't want to give you some false information,
Yeah.
So nobody would answer me. I finally cussed him. I finally said, look, man, what the hell? Tell me. And the guy whispered in my ear, he goes, we're not allowed to say. He said, because we don't know. We're not doctors. He goes, and we don't want to tell you something that may be wrong information. So it made sense. So I had to wait 2 hours. Oh. And 2 hours later, the doctor comes in the room and he goes, sit up. And I said, what? So it was like God took my life totally away from me. And then God totally gave it back to me. It was weird. And then, of course, as I'm sitting up and I'm moving my arms and everything, where I couldn't move anything before, I said, what happened? And he goes, medically, you bruised your spinal cord. So a cervical disc shot and hit my spinal cord. Well, when it did, thank God it didn't sever it. It just hit it.
Okay.
And when it hit it, it swells. And when it swells, you think, 100% you think you're paralyzed. But the swelling goes down, and then you can move again. And that's medically what happened to me, is I bruised, even though it still broke my neck at 3, 4, and 6, 7, what happened to my spinal cord was it bruised my spinal cord.
Wow.
That's crazy, I know, dude. But that's and I was back in the ring in 10 months. And I mean back in the ring, like ripped and shredded and back in the ring.
Yeah.
I was ready to go again, but it wasn't easy as I thought. I thought it'd be easy to get right back in the ring, no problem. But I went down to the school and had Eric Watts just pick me up to slam me. And I said, pick me up and slam me. And he picked me up. And I go, no, put me down. And I said, oh, come on, just slam me. He reached to slam me again. I go, put me down. Mm-hmm. And so finally we pulled a blue pad in there, pretty thick pad. And we just started with some rolls, just me rolling on the pad.
Yeah.
And within 5 minutes, I was tackle, drop down, leapfrogging, drop kicking, hip tossing. It just took a few minutes to get going, but then I was fine.
God, man,
it was crazy. It was a crazy, crazy ride, bro. And I just had I paid $88,000 for my lot that day to my mansion I built that day.
Oh,
I paid. I wrote the check for $88,000. Got in my $85,000 Jaguar and drove to Columbia, South Carolina. And I'm thinking, how am I going to pay for that check?
God,
what am I going to do about that?
Oh man, that day
it was crazy. And then I had thoughts about my motorcycle. I'm not being able to ride my motorcycle no more, and all that. It was a trip. It was a ride, bro. It was a trip.
That's what I was gonna say too. You were, as big as ever during that time.
Oh yeah. Well, that was my thing. My big thing with God is I'm a big not saying why.
Yeah.
I don't ever ask God why.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody should, because if you get into whys with God, you're getting into territories you shouldn't be in. Why? Right. Why is my kid retarded and your kid isn't? Why is my kid an athlete and your kid isn't? Why is my kid good looking and your kid isn't? Why is bad?
I agree.
But when you get paralyzed on live TV in the height of pro wrestling history, at the height of your character being Buff Bagwell, you badly want to say why.
Yeah.
But I came up with another way to say it instead of why. And I said, is this really the plan you had for me?
Mm.
To be able to be paralyzed on national TV in the height of pro wrestling, is this really the plan you had for me? And, you know, of course, I didn't hear no voice come back. But that's the only thing I could think of to ask him, is not without saying why. I badly wanted to say why, but instead it came out like, is this really the plan you had? You know?
Yeah.
And obviously it wasn't, because I made it back.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same way, dude. I feel like we're not supposed to know why everything happens.
Right. Yeah, the why is a bad one. Why is bad.
I mean, now for people that don't know, your contract at that time, was you getting paid on your appearances, or was it guaranteed to sit home for 10 months while you're hurt?
No, we had me and Eric Bischoff had handshook on my next contract.
Oh my God.
And so I'm in the hospital, and Eric Bischoff calls me, and he goes, hey, I don't think you are. He goes, but I don't want you to be worried about your contract. And I go,
wow.
Whoa. For starters, what do you mean you don't think I am? I'm scared to death. I said, we got a handshook deal, and now I'm paralyzed, and I'm not on paper nowhere. And he said, Buff, he goes, we're gonna hire you no matter what. You're Buff Bagwell. We can use you for a manager. We can do all kind of stuff with you. And I said, well, he goes, hell, I'll send the contract to the hospital right now if you want me to. And I said, I'd really feel good about that.
Damn right.
So that's back in the days of courier. They would courier things.
Yeah.
So they couriered my contract to Kennesaw Hospital, and I turned the contract, this thick of a contract, to the very back page, which just showed the money. And I signed it and dated it, and I gave it to my mom, and I said, get that back to him as soon as you can. And that way, at least I knew I had 3 more years of my contract. It was, like 1.9 mil.
That's,
so he stuck by his deal and gave me what I needed,
That goes to speak volumes about Eric Bischoff right there.
That's why I'm a big fan of Eric,
Man, so many people could have just took advantage of that situation and said, hell with this guy. We can save some money. Man,
yeah, they could have easily.
When you came back, do you remember like being scared that you're going to hurt your neck again, or that you're going to be paralyzed?
I was petrified. I mean, my first match back was against Goldberg and Rick Steiner.
Oh, that's right.
That was my first match back. A guy that wants to break my neck and a guy that already did.
Damn,
I'm like,
I didn't even think about that.
Talk about throwing me right back to the wolves.
Wow.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man.
God.
So I'm in there with Goldberg. It's just a loose cannon.
Yeah.
And then Rick Steiner, which broke my neck in the first place. So yeah, I had to be honest with you, I was more nervous about working out. Like, believe it or not, doing shrugs was the weirdest thing to me.
Oh, I bet.
Because you're moving your neck.
Yeah.
Where were once broke and paralyzed. And keep in mind, when they go through the front and they move your windpipe to the side and they bolt back then they didn't have cadaver. So they bolt your hip at 3/4 with a plate and 4 screws, And down at 6'7", another plate and 4 more screws. So I had 2 plates and 8 screws at 3, 4, and 6, 7. Then they get your windpipe and put it back over where it's supposed to be. And they sew you up.
Mm.
Brother, it don't get no more real than that.
No. God.
So it plays a head trip on me, But working out, I think, was more weird than wrestling. Like, coming down with a bench press and thinking is my neck okay or not,
Yeah.
But I couldn't train for 3 months. I lost 50 pounds. I couldn't train for 3 months. He didn't want me to do any kind of nothing for 3 months. So 3 months in 1 day, bro, I hit the ground running.
Yeah,
but he begged me. He said, "Mark, I can't tell you how important 3 months is. You've got to let it fuse. You've got to let it fuse all the way."
Dude, when you came back, you were bigger than ever, I think. I mean,
I think so too. That's when I came. Well, Paul, you also got to realize I came back as Scotty's manager and was ripped and shredded, blue jeans, and I really found my buff character even more. So then when I was able to put the tights on, I was really buff,
Yeah.
And so talking in the camera and doing all that and just getting more and more out there, more and more funny, and more entertaining, finding my character. So I was definitely better when I came back, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And was it hard to work with Scott Steiner, like ever?
Both Steiners were pretty tough, but because they didn't realize how strong they were.
Mm-hmm.
They were such freaks.
Yeah,
man. They both were such genetic freaks that they were just strong and tough, and they'd walk by you and say, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And I realized I was like, "Rick, come on, man, what the hell?" He said, "What? I just said what's going on." But he didn't realize how strong he was,
Yeah. Yeah.
So every match they're going after Bagwell's neck, And I finally had to come to Eric and say, "Eric, we've got to drop the neck thing. The neck thing's done. We've used it. It's over. Let's get off of it." Because even when Rick Steiner grabs your neck and is just working, he's not trying to really kill you, but he's got your neck. That's still Rick Steiner that has your neck.
Yeah.
And it's not gentle. So it's like, we got to get him off the neck thing, man. Just get everybody off of it.
I thought it was cool whenever you and Scott started working together. Like when he had turned NWO.
We had a lot of good stuff, man.
Yeah. And y'all were, it seemed like they were trying to play up the thing where, like who's showing off more, because y'all both had the bodies and everything.
We had the best 2 bodies in the business, bro.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We had the best 2 bodies in the business. I mean, I didn't look nowhere near as good as Scotty did, but there ain't a lot of guys that can walk out with Scotty. I was able to at least walk out with him,
Exactly.
And so, I even remember the interview we had in Cincinnati when we actually were mad at each other because the boys had kind of stirred it up between me kind of getting close to him in the body wise, and it kind of pissed him off at me. And he goes, he said something to me. I'd cost him the match with Booker T. I mean, I went to hit Booker T, and Booker T ducked. I hit Scotty, and it cost Scotty the win for the U.S. title. And he said, he goes, maybe you don't belong anymore. And I said, ever since I've got back into shape, I said, it seems like Scotty is just a little bit jealous.
Mm-hmm.
And just like that bastard came back. He goes, no matter how great you look, you will always be second best.
I remember that.
And it was great. I was like, damn. I thought I had him, and he came back with a better line.
But he was actually kind of pissed off because everybody was trying to get y'all backstage.
Oh, bro, he was. We didn't talk. We didn't talk 3 weeks up to that interview, and we didn't talk for the next 4 weeks. And I had to walk up to him at the pay-per-view. We were main event at Samboree, and I had to say, do I need to defend myself? He's getting his ankles taped. Keep in mind, we're getting ready to go on live TV. And I go, Scotty, do you got a minute? And he goes, yeah. I said, what? We ain't talked in a month. And I go, do I need to defend myself? And he took about a minute, and a minute is a long time with that question. And he went, no. And I went, okay. And I was like, thank God I ain't got to defend myself. Not sure I could if I wanted to. Because he's just such a badass, man, you know?
Oh, man. He's kind of got a reputation of, from, you know, everybody you talk to pretty much that something's happened with him or he's got pissed off at somebody. I mean, for real.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
dude. When I managed him, man, I was a real manager. I mean, it was like really trying to keep him from killing people, you know, and stuff, you know?
Yeah. Do you remember anything about the very last Nitro?
Oh God, yeah. We all the guys that were late were showing up late, of course, which is me, Lex, Goldberg, Nash, Hall, Luger, Sting, and we're all showing up. Some of us riding together, some of us not. And all of a sudden, I think it was me, and I went, "Oh my God, look!" And it was WWF semis. And we were like, what in the hell? So nobody said a word in that group of talent there. Everybody just kind of split off into their own areas and went to their own people. Like I went to my people that I talked to. Scotty went to his people, Legs, everybody. But it wasn't but a few minutes that went by. And they go, Shane McMahon's got a meeting in this room and, you know, in 5 minutes. So I remember like seeing, you know, people crying and people taking pictures with Ric Flair and the belt and, you know, people taking pictures with the Four Horsemen. And it was just kind of like I don't know, like it was like the ending of an era, you know?
Yeah.
And I could see it. It was all happening right in front of my eyes. And then Shane walked in and Shane had about a 2-minute long meeting. He said, we own the company now. He said, we own WCW. He said, we're going to keep some wrestlers. We're going to fire some wrestlers. He said, we're going to keep some referees. We're going to fire some referees. We're going to keep some talent in the office, and we're going to fire some talent in the office. He said, good luck, and, you know, good luck to everybody. And about half the people went like golf claps.
Golf clap, yeah.
You know, and I looked over at Luger. I was golf clapping. I looked over at Luger, and Luger's going. So I went. I do it. We were tag team champions. I wasn't going to do what he wasn't going to do. Yeah. So I was like, well, I guess I'll stand here like Lex is. So this ain't his first talk he's heard before.
Oh man, that was the end of an era. You said it just right. I mean,
oh man, it was crazy, dude. And like I said, what Vince could have done with it. It was so big.
Man, that's one of my biggest things. You know, I wish that he would have done something with it. It was still, people still watched it, man. I mean, it was, you know, and the thing with y'all in the Raw main event, that I didn't understand one bit. I still don't understand it one bit. The only thing that makes sense to me is he's just like, aha, now you're on my, that's the only thing that makes any sense to me.
Do you know where the next week after me and Booker's match was?
Was it Atlanta? See that? I mean,
So my question, forget everything you just said. Even.
Yeah.
Your question is, you're Vince McMahon, and you're going to put on the first match of what you're calling the invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing that in Tacoma, Washington, 5,000 miles away from Ted Turner. Or you can just wait 7 days and you are in Ted Turner's backyard with Booker T and Bub Bagwell at Phillips Arena and the roof come off the place. Instead, we got booed out of the building in Tacoma, Washington. So we knew something was up right there. We just didn't know what, but it was. We knew a week before y'all knew that it was over. It was over.
Oh man, I mean, it could have been. It could have been so cool. It could have been so big.
I know,
but I get it. He didn't. He didn't want it to be.
He didn't want it. He just he felt like that he was better than us and wanted everybody to see that they were better, that they, were the better ones. And so he did it.
How do you like acting? I know you've done some acting jobs. You got into some of that. How do you like acting?
I like it a lot. But the best actors is The Rock. The Rock is like an actor that happened to wrestle. The rest of us were wrestlers that tried to act. Mm-hmm. The Rock is a natural, man. He's a true blue, just a great actor, period. And so that to me is what made him the best. And he just became the best because of that. But it wasn't like he was a great wrestler also, but he was a natural actor. When you could see us when we acted, it was like we were not really good actors. We were pro wrestlers trying to act, where The Rock was like an actor, dude. He was really a great actor. So he's the role. He's the one that made it. He's the one that really deserved to get what he got, and he made it, and he was the best one of all doing it.
Well, I know you've been in a movie with my buddy John Schneider.
Oh yeah.
So I imagine you probably grew up watching the Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard, baby. Every Friday night, 8:00.
Yeah. Trying to hood slide like Bo and Luke.
Oh yeah. We tried it all the time in our cars.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, man.
Snyder's the best, dude. He's great.
Yeah.
I've done 2 or 3 movies with him. He's been great. He's been great in all of them. He's such a good teacher too. He teaches you how to little things you wouldn't think of, like when you look at actors and you see them looking eye to eye, their eyes go back and forth because you don't know which eye to look at.
Mm.
He taught me how to pick one eye and look at one eye when you're talking to somebody, and that keeps your eyes from going. Because you go back and forth with your eyes.
Yeah.
But unless you focus on one eye, then you look at that one eye and you talk into that one eye, and it makes your lines, everything so much better. So he's such a great teacher and all that. He was great at that. He was great.
And I love when you brought your mom in. I thought that was genius. I mean, I know that the forklift and that's what it is, man. But I'm just talking about her. She was a
She
natural.
was a trip.
Man.
She was great.
She was so good.
You know whose idea that was?
Huh?
You know whose idea that was? Rick Steiner.
Wow.
Rick Steiner's who came up with that whole idea. Now, not the forklift thing. That was WCW writers, and once Mom had been there a while, and the writing team and all that stuff. But just bringing her out in Columbia, where I broke my neck, and she came out to get mad at me for being, I was a heel, and she was getting mad at me for being a heel to the crowd and all that stuff. And so it was great. And Rick called me with it, and I said, that's a great idea. It's a great idea. Let's do it. So we did it.
I would have never guessed it was Rick Steiner's idea.
Rick Steiner, dude. Rick Steiner.
Well, she's worked around all those 200 and something men at the lumber. I mean, she was a natural.
She fit right in. Like she didn't dress with the damn the Nitro girls. She dressed in the guys' locker room with us.
Yeah.
She didn't give a shit. She was like everybody's mom.
Yeah. She
didn't give a shit. She didn't want to dress all those damn little, chicks that thought they were little, prissy girls. She raised 3 badass boys and 4 counting my daddy, and ran a lumber company, and she was into that, tough, like if one of our wives came to my mom and said, Mark hit me, or Steve hit me, or John hit me, my mom's first take would be, what did you do? What'd you do first? She goes, I'm not saying he didn't do it, but I know he just didn't do it for no reason. So what'd you do? And they'd be like, what? And she goes, what'd you do? And sure enough, there'd be a story of what, that was 2 sides of the story,
Yeah. Well, she was great, man.
Even though you're never supposed to do that, she knew there was more to it than just Mark hit somebody, or Steve hit somebody, or John hit somebody. It was like, well, what did you do? What did you do to cause it?
Oh, man. She was probably a trip, I imagine.
She was, dude. She was.
You ever have any brushes with people from the music world?
No, not really. Not a lot. Not a lot with that. But John, with John, John Snyder's about it. He hits a lot, with a lot of stuff with him, and not knowing how big he really was in the music industry,
Oh yeah, he had number 1s back in the 80s, and
nobody knows that, Nobody talked about that. Nobody really knows that,
No, they really don't. But he was a great singer too. He recorded about 3 or 4 of my songs, and went to the Opry with him and Alicia, and they're just good people.
They are good people. They are good people.
Not a lot of people from that time and that position, and that was, he was such a big star back then. You don't see a lot of that carrying over, that humbleness and trying to help people like him. Him and Alicia has carried that over. I really believe that.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Well, man,
they're really good people, man. They are.
We'll let you get off here. And
well, buddy, I really appreciate it, man. You're a great guy. I love that intro. Goes down as the best intro ever.
People really like that, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's off the chain. That's really cool.
I appreciate you doing this. It's been good talking to you.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate it. I'm getting hungry, so I'm gonna grab something to eat. But I really appreciate your time and having fun and talking about some old stuff and just having a lot of fun.
And glad you're doing good again.
I appreciate it.
And I know you will continue to do good.
I appreciate that, brother.
I appreciate y'all tuning once again into Picking It Out. Our guest has been Buff Daddy himself, Buff Bagwell, and we'll see you next time.